Hello everyone, I'm Shannon Gill, evolutionary astrologer in Austin, Texas, and this is my very first YouTube video. I have had a private practice here for about a decade. I do teach in various capacities, and I'm actually currently the president of the Astrological Society, but I have not yet ventured out into the YouTube world, so I'm taking advantage of this ingress of Mars into Aries, starting a new cycle and putting something new into action. So my intention for these videos is to assist those that are seekers, astrologers and non-astrologers, in interpreting the cycles of the planets in a way that can empower your personal experience. I'm very passionate and feel very confident that you can know just a little bit about astrology and have it serve your life. So I'm going to try to be concise, because I also respect the busyness of our times, and do somewhere between 2 and 4 videos a month, about 20 minutes long. So for our first session today together, I am going to let you know why astrologers have been talking about 2020 since the 70s, and how to understand what's going on in a larger perspective and trust the process. Then we're going to dive into the current moment where we are sandwiched in between 2 massive eclipses. This is actually a series of 3 this summer, and what that means for you and how to align with the energies. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit about Mercury retrograde, and then we'll close with this new cycle of Mars ingressing into Aries. All of us need to take on our warrior right now, our internal fire, and put our beliefs, our purpose into action. And it's very important that we stay out of the shadow, because the shadow of Aries is anger and irritability and actually war. Mars is the god of war. And as we can see things heating up on the planet, we need to be especially conscious around the energies that are moving through at this time. All right, so let's dive in here. Astrologers have been talking about this year 2020 since the 1970s. Why is that? Astrology is the study of cycles. Cycles repeat themselves. Basically, nothing in the heavens is doing something to us. We are in this divine orchestration or symphony together. And so astrologers are actually also historians, because they go back into history and they look at certain aspects between the planets and refer to what was unfolding at that time. And they're able to see themes whenever the patterns repeat over time. So what's going on right now on the planet, which the astrologers have been discussing for quite some time with question and concern, is that we have 3 of the outer planets all together in the sky in Capricorn. So Capricorn is the sign of the system, the structure, the foundation. It has to do with integrity, and it has to do with the underpinnings of our world. So it's our government. It also means that it is our very unbalanced and unhealthy governmental system. So the outer planets that have come together in Capricorn are Pluto, which is the furthest planet, 248 years to go around the zodiac. So that in itself is rare. Pluto is the dark mother archetype. It has to do with the underworld. It has to do with the shadow. So in this case, it has to do with corruption and revealing that which has been hidden. The process that goes hand in hand with Pluto has to do with an alchemical understanding, which is that through the dark comes the light, that we must go through this process of death and rebirth in order to continue to ascend and evolve. And since that is my focus as an evolutionary astrologer, I see all of this as absolutely necessary in order to emerge out of this Pisces age into the age of Aquarius. Then we have Saturn, which actually rules Capricorn, has also joined up with Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. So it only takes 28 years to go around the zodiac. But still, coming together side by side in the heavens is very significant. And then last we have Jupiter, the largest planet. Wherever Jupiter goes, it expands. It expands the energies that are in place. And it takes 12 years to go around the zodiac. So the three of those have come together. Pluto, which is shadow and underworld and the process of transmutation of dark into light. Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, which has to do with integrity and karma, and the Lord of Time. Time has run out. And Jupiter, that is taking things into a massive, onto a massive scale. So the last time that these three planets have come together, actually every time that these three planets have come together, there's either been a pandemic or a world war. So I share this with you not to scare you. I think we're all pretty aware that we're right in the midst of a global descent, meaning that the entire world is going through that very Plutonian process of death and rebirth. But so that you understand that this isn't just a singular focus of what's going on. This isn't just about a virus or just about an uprising of violence. It has to do with long period of time of our world and our system being oriented in a very out of balanced way, in a very egotistically driven capitalistic manner, which is going to be the demise of the human race if something doesn't shift. And so we're coming out of this Pisces age into the age of Aquarius. Probably you've heard something about that, or maybe you know a lot about it. What I feel is most significant is to understand that the predominant paradigm during the Pisces age was that there was a split between spirit and matter. It's the two fish swimming in opposite directions. So basically, there was a system placed between man and God, either the government or religion. So the predominant saying would have been, I believe in something higher than myself that is outside of me. So when this shift has been emerging as we're moving more into this this Aquarian age, this is about the fish returning to a place of union, spirit and matter becoming one again, realizing that God or Goddess is not outside of us. It actually dwells within. This is the Christ consciousness returning. And so the predominant paradigm is for this new age, I know because I am. That's a huge difference. Once enough people come online with understanding that we are all one divine unitive consciousness, then the way in which we build our culture, our government, our school systems, our food and our natural sustainable measures will all be in alignment and harmony with the greater good for all of humanity. So what's going on is that there's an exposure of the toxicity. There is a revealing, this is very apocalyptic in so many ways, and that actually just means the great revealing of the truth of the patriarchal system needing to crumble. So those three planets coming together is doing just that. It's a slow demolition in order for us to then truly rebuild this new age of light and unitive consciousness. I will say that I think it's important that we understand that these ages are 2,000 plus years long, and we're just at the cusp, coming out of Pisces into Aquarius. So we need to surrender and trust that this process is going to unfold over quite a bit of time. This isn't going to be over anytime soon. And so we need to understand that we've chosen to be here on the planet at this time, and that we must derive our choices as such. How do we participate in being a part, an active part of building this new world? So knowing where that cluster, the COVID cluster, as Anne Orderly puts so brilliantly, is in your own chart, Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter, is the work for you. What is the demolition for you? Where are you going through that massive death and rebirth cycle? And that's something that we can do in private sessions, or if you know how to look on your own chart, you'd look and see where the Capricorn stellium is. Okay, so now coming to the current. We're in an eclipse window. Eclipse windows happen every 6 months. So there's a, basically twice a year, a time that's known as a portal. A time where we go from where we are to, in an accelerated fashion, to where we are supposed to be if we're in alignment with our evolutionary contract. So anytime we're having an eclipse, you should remember that This has to do with my destiny. This has to do with my soul's fate. This is part of why I've chosen to be here on the planet at this time. So they usually come in pairs, but this summer we have 3 back to back. The first one was on June 5th. It was a lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. The second one was on June 21st, which was the solar eclipse and also the summer solstice. The last one in Cancer at 0 degrees. And then we have one coming up this weekend on the 4th of July, 5th, depending on where you live. So we have been dancing between the Cancer and Capricorn archetypes in the eclipse seasons since the summer of 2018. So basically what that means is that there's an acceleration of attempting to rebalance these polarities on the planet and inside of ourselves and our own being. So the meditation is, what are these energies and how do they live and how do you express them in your own life? Cancer is the feminine principle. It is the mother. It is the earth herself. So it's everything feminine, our feeling nature, the essence of being, caring and nurturing and self-care. Capricorn is often represented as the father. It has to do with the system. It has to do with the roots, work. It has to do with foundation, maturity. So you can see where they are opposites in many ways. Home and family, work, right? Mother, father, beingness and doing. And you can sink into yourself and see where you fall on that spectrum. Basically, essentially, all of our work, or I should say most of our work right now, is about returning to union. The way that we come back online with the Aquarian age, which is unitive consciousness, coming back into the Purusha, which is the one mind, remembering that oneness, is by the reintegration of opposites. So that's why there's so much in the zeitgeist right now about the masculine and the feminine and the rising of the divine feminine, because she's been oppressed for so long, of the light and the dark, the mind and the heart. It's the same in astrology. This is a way that you can do your part in creating that integration, which can help accelerate your own awakening. So this summer, we're looking at these very powerful and important archetypes. And we've actually been working with them since 2018, because the transiting nodal axis spends a year and a half in each pair of opposites in the zodiac. 12 signs, 6 pairs of opposites, they're known as axis. Okay, so every eclipse, this material comes back up. It might have to do with your own family, your own parents. It might have to do with your inner child and your woundedness from childhood that you're still sorting through. It might have to do with you as a parent. It might have to do with the work and home balance. It might have to do with you just learning to control your emotions. Or it might be about learning to open yourself up to the emotional realm. Maybe you're shut off. So you see the pendulum can swing back and forth based on each person's individual experience. And then on a collective scale, we're looking at the system, the out of balance masculine, wounded masculine that's running our world, and the earth herself, the feminine principle. Because we were so out of balance and the rubber band had swung too far or been pulled too far in the opposite direction, the enantiodrama shot it forward, and here we are in this global shutdown. We all got sent to our rooms, back home, with the family, with the mother, with ourselves. So there's a collective descent going on right now. And we are all called to do that hero's journey into the underworld, into the shadow realm, into the places that are tender, are wounded or insecure, the truth of our nature, of our being. We evolve through the emotional body. And it is through this very natural process, just like the seasons. Spring, summer, fall, and winter. We're not taught that. We're taught to stay happy all the time, keeping up with the Joneses. This is where addictions and anxiety and all of the escape mechanisms come in, because it's an absolute impossibility. So we need to allow ourselves to descend into this material, because it is from that place of surrender that we rise in freedom. And this is essentially the ascension process. Rising to higher vibratory levels, releasing the dross, removing the obstructions to the light. So here's where we stand right now during this eclipse portal. I mentioned that the first eclipse was in Sagittarius. It was a sneak peek into the next year and a half, because the nodal axis will then shift from Cancer Capricorn into Gemini Sag. The nodal axis moves backwards through the zodiac. So this is the axis, Gemini Sag, of knowledge, of beliefs, the information wars, the fighting over what's right, what's true, who did this, who's to blame. Do you wear the mask? Do you not wear the mask? Is it a man-made virus, or is it naturally occurring? It's on and on and on, day by day. So this next year and a half, we're going to be really formulating our own beliefs based on our own inner truth. And what I feel is even more important than that is to let go of the story, to let go of having to understand everything in a logical manner, because we have to remember that we had to have some kind of story in order to do this final descent, this global descent, to have this decay, to have the toxic systems crumble, so that we can then be reformed and rise like the phoenix into this new age and build these new structures. So the invitation is to not hold so tight to your beliefs and find that connection to security inside, which ultimately means we have no control. The only thing that we can reside in that brings us true security is inner security, remembering we are eternal, we are divine consciousness, we are God, Goddess incarnate. The eclipse comes this 4th of July. It's the final one in Capricorn, so it's a full moon. Emotions run high during eclipses. The lights are out, right? It's a metaphor, the eclipse, the obscuration of the light. We can't see clearly right now. We're asked to let go and to trust and to be present with what is, to really practice mindfulness in the now. We have Mercury retrograde, which is just emphasizing that we attempt to rethink things, to review what we're doing. Mercury rules the function of our life. We've all been in a state of shock. A lot of people have been in this just paralyzed, and it's okay. We've had all this time, it's been a massive, massive psychological trauma, and everybody's doing their best. So during this Mercury retrograde, it is time to look at things and to think, where do I want to go from here? Because as I said, this isn't ending anytime soon. So how are we going to be with what is? And how are we going to be an instrument of change? Mars has started a new cycle in Aries. So Mars is the warrior. Mars is the masculine energy, the sacred masculine that's clear, rules our willpower, our thrust into life, what we will fight for, what we believe in. It's our creative actualization. It's our instinctual self. It has started a new cycle by leaving Pisces and moving into Aries. And this was on Saturday, the 28th of June, that it started this new cycle. So you have probably felt an even greater level of agitation on the planet. So what we have to realize is that we're being called to act, to start something new, to be an advocate or a warrior for the earth, for humanity, for life, for the children. In Pisces, it was very nebulous. It was, Pisces is everything we can't control. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed and unclear and time has felt very nonlinear, you're not alone. Most people have been experiencing that, or a desire just to check out. So now that Mars is starting this new cycle, we're actually called to come forth. In whatever that way that is. It can be just a personal creative project, something to do with your energy. Or it can be more direct. If you want to be an advocate for peace and equal rights, to do so in a peaceful way. Or to start a personal project like me. I'm doing my first YouTube. I'm going to start speaking my truth in a very direct way. We just want to be very careful to avoid the shadow, because the shadow is what we're seeing on the planet right now. It's a time to be more patient with people. People are very reactive, and the unconscious material is coming up and it's in the field, coupled with fear and uncertainty and their own soul's karma to clear. And it can become extremely confusing and easy to project onto other people. So we don't want to get caught up in the collective angst or the collective anger, and that's going to take a lot of intention. So really, the best thing to do is to slow down right now, to be more intentional, to touch into the information, but not get hooked into the story. We are not the story. What's going on down here, the drama, the politics, all of that, that's the 3D dimension. We are not just third dimensional beings. We are divine consciousness. So it's not about putting your head in the sand, but it's also not about following it so closely, blow by blow, that you become consumed by it. It's about finding what it takes for you to stay in a high vibrational state. And that's, to simplify, what this shift is about. This ascension process that you keep hearing about, or this awakening, it has to do with vibration. It has to do with cellular coherence. Staying in a place of levity with your emotions, your mind, your body, your physicality, and your spirit in harmony. So the practice becomes what keeps you there. It's different for all of us. For me, it's dance, it's music, you know, it's astrology, it's remembering that this is all some divine, mysterious, perfect orchestration of the soul's evolutionary intent. So for each of us, it's different. So doing whatever it takes to stay calm and doing and finding things that give you joy. That's really the invitation of the best way to spend this time. So I send all my love to each of you. Thank you for tuning in. My intention is to do 2 of these a month. Please leave comments if you have suggestions or any area topic that you'd like more information on. And I wish you all well. Till next time.